He's been doing all he can. He's been working hard to get word out, make himself accessible, and use his position to try to bring science into the argument. Dr. Avish Nagpal is an infectious disease specialist with Sanford Health, and he's coming on with us now. Dr. Nagpal, good to have you back coming down the road.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for inviting me again.
So the first thing I think that we have to focus on is the CDC and the big news of the day, which is that the CDC has determined that as far as self-quarantine, you only have to be quarantined for 5 days versus 10, which is what I went through, quite frankly, when I contracted COVID. So are they right? Did this surprise you? What did you think about it? Take any and all of those, but I'm really curious to get your take on it.
Yeah, I think, Joel, this is a move in the right direction. As you have seen, the original recommendation about 10 and 14 days came from the parent strain when we were dealing with that in March 2020, and the idea at that time was to completely eliminate the virus. As we try to live with this, we have to do things that are more sustainable, and also because the virus has changed over time, and now we are dealing with Omicron, which has a shorter incubation period and a quicker recovery time. I think this is a move in the right direction. I was concerned that 10 days of isolation and 14 days of quarantine was discouraging a lot of people from getting tested when they were sick, because they knew that if they were positive, they would have to miss work or things like that. So I think this is a move in the right direction, which makes isolation and quarantine a lot more sustainable as we deal with the latest surge here.
So as a specialist, when it comes to infectious disease, let me put it in terms like this. You have your granddaughter, or your daughter, pick one, I don't care which one, in a school. The teacher contracts COVID. That teacher was self-isolated for 5 days. You'd be okay with that teacher going back in that classroom on the 6th day?
Yeah, as long as their symptoms are improving, they no longer have fever, it should be perfectly fine.
Okay. So let me ask it this way then, because this gets thrown at me a lot on my radio show, that they can't trust the CDC. That it's such a moving target. They say this one day and they say this another day, and now they go to 5 days, which they could have done this all along. What's your answer to those individuals?
Yeah, so, remember that this is only a 2-year-old virus. We learn something about this, something new about it every day. And it's a shapeshifter, so, it stays one step ahead of it. And now we are moving in a place where we have come to accept the fact that we are no longer able to eliminate it completely, and we just have to live with it and adjust accordingly. So, as we learn more, we adjust our strategies. This is like, I hate using the word war because I don't want to use that and make it, bring down the value of that word in respect to our veterans and our soldiers. But when you are out fighting for something or fighting against something, you always have to readjust your strategy based on the ground situation, and this is the same thing.
So let me ask another question that gets brought up all the time, whether I'm in a conversation with relatives or friends or, quite frankly, on the radio. This question comes at me, which is, I don't want to get vaccinated. You, as someone that has been vaccinated, can still contract COVID, can still carry COVID, and pass COVID on to someone else. And so if I choose not to be vaccinated, why does that bother you? Because you don't gain anything from me personally not being vaccinated. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to go around in the hospital every day and deal with so many patients for whom this was an avoidable disease, avoidable death, and avoidable morbidity. or avoidable job loss or stay in the ICU. And most people who go into the ICU, yes, many of them survive. About 70% of them survive, but they don't go directly home from ICU. They go to rehab, and they go to a nursing home. They go to a long-term acute care. So this is like, we are not talking about days taken away from your life. We are talking about months and weeks and months and maybe year taken away from your life, even if you survive the disease after critical illness. So this is a completely avoidable, severe disease is completely avoidable at this time with available vaccines and treatment. So there is no reason to not get the vaccine. It's prevention. Do you not wear a seatbelt? Do you not wear a helmet when you go to a construction site? Um, there's no reason to get severely sick from this disease.
So if I can carry it, and you're looking at someone who has had COVID, who had my shots, then had my booster shot, and I contracted COVID prior to the vaccine coming out, or I would have had it, it would have made a difference then in my life. But if I can carry it, when does it end? How do we, if people who have been vaccinated can still be infected and pass it on, when does it end? Is it going to take all of us to have had some form of it? Or how do we get past the point where this pandemic continues on?
This pandemic is already endemic, which means that it will continue to circulate, and we may see waves every winter or every spring. And I think we probably are at a place now where we have to accept the fact that we need to live with this. And just like influenza, we are going to have bad years, maybe worse years. There are strains that eventually go away, but it's not going anytime soon. I think this is going to be part of our routine lives for the next few years at the very least.
So I get in my pickup truck. I drive over to Sanford right now, and I walk into the ICU. And I know you're not going to let me. That isn't my point. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. And I walk in there and I see how full is it, and how many people in that ICU ward, how many of those haven't been vaccinated by percentage or by numbers, Doc?
Yeah, so almost all of them are unvaccinated, and I wish I can take you to our ICU so that we can show people how heartbreaking it is, how it feels like in the ICU. The visuals do tell a story that my words cannot. Um, we never had this ICU a couple years ago. Remember that most of the floors on Broadway Hospital, where we are operating our special care unit, which is the COVID unit, they were not operational. So we have been above capacity. This is an ICU that did not exist 2 years ago, and now it is completely full. 16 patients on one floor, another 16 who remain on the ventilator on the floor below it. So 30 patients, almost all unvaccinated, who could have avoided this by vaccination or early treatment.
I just, my father he fought in World War II. And as he pointed out, you got in line, you got shots in the arm, you bent over, and you got some in the keister. And you didn't ask what they were, you just were told that's it. And because of that, I have no doubt that he lived with some of the places that he was during that war. For me, to try to explain to people, other than simply percentage of numbers, why I so strongly urge vaccination. I'm not a scientist like you. I'm not a specialist when it comes to infectious disease like you, but neither are a lot of people who are watching right now. So how frustrating is it for them not to look at somebody who's dedicated his life to this science and not listen and not pay attention to what you're saying?
It's, frustrating is probably not the right word. I feel it's a personal loss. It's a personal failure that I've not been able to convince a lot of people despite clear availability of evidence. I think it's my failure to communicate. It's my failure to get over all the conspiracy theories or the fake news that are out there or the misinformation is out there. I think I've lost that battle. I wish there was a magical way where I could improve my communication skills or skills that how I convince people to believe what is black and white and right in front of them. So I think it feels like a personal loss and a personal failure. Every person who dies from COVID this now, it's heartbreaking. It feels personal.
Do not feel that way. Don't. It does not fall upon you. You could not have gotten more facts out. Doctor, thanks for coming down the road with us. I have no doubt we'll talk again another day.